Joining us from Washington is Yemeni political analyst Sama Al-Hamdani. She is a fellow with the Sana'a Center for Strategic Studies. Sama, always good to see you. Let's start with the humanitarian crisis. We knew people were in desperate need, but now the UN says the country is on the brink of famine. You still have family there. What are they telling you?
It's really bad over there. It's been progressively getting worse and worse. There's an economic siege enforced by the Saudi coalition and by the Houthis as well. And so a lot of things are on the black market, to the point that we expect that water sooner or later will be on the black market. 80% of the population, 20 million people, don't have access to clean water, and this is according to AJAM by the UN. A lot of the people who are injured in this war are actually civilians. 86% of those who are injured or killed have turned out to be civilians, meaning that both sides of this conflict have not really paid attention to whether the people that they're attacking are combatants. And also what makes matters worse is that schools have not been taking place at the time that they should take place, meaning that a lot of students are missing out on the education that they should be taking.
Right, which
so
of course hurts the future of Yemen, which is already, of course, in doubt. And today, 2 Saudi senior commanders were killed by a Houthi attack. And reports are that many other Saudi troops were also killed. The ceasefire that should have already begun was postponed until the morning. That certainly does not seem encouraging.
It doesn't seem encouraging. However, I would like to say that it seems that the Saudi coalition has somehow succeeded in pushing out the Houthi rebels from the south of Yemen. In a lot of areas, they have the upper hand. And I think that both sides have come to a point where they're ready to talk about peace. Unfortunately, right before peace talks, there's always an escalation of some sort, because both sides assumed that they would finalize the battle that's been going on for months. Having said that, the conflict needs to have people sit on a table and kind of negotiate. And so that's what's taking place.
Which is something they haven't been willing.
The Yemeni people.
It's something they haven't been willing to do. And now they actually will sit face to face, or at least that's what's expected?
Yes, that's what's expected. And they're going to talk. And like the reporter said earlier, it's in an undisclosed location because they don't want it to kind of fall out like it did before in May. It seems that Hadi's government is looking forward to have some talks, and the Houthi and Saleh side is exhausted definitely in this war. They cannot keep going. And the Yemeni people have really expressed their voice and their need for peace. And so we're hopeful that with international pressure, both sides can come to a peace agreement.
And you were talking about the flare-ups near a ceasefire. You have Houthi bombings killing the governor of Aden. That's in the south that you were talking about, which is where the Hadi government is now based. At the same time, government troops have made a show of force near the capital, Sana'a, which is in Houthi hands. So you think this is just something that's all happening before the peace talks, and that there will be some compromise?
As a matter of fact, the governor of Aden was killed by ISIS. This was taken credit by ISIS. What happened, unfortunately, during this war is that Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula was able to take over the governorate of Hadramaut, the city of Mukalla, and expand into Abyan. That's another region. It's actually the hometown of President Hadi. And ISIS was able to carry out several operations in the south of Yemen, in Sana'a, in Sa'da, and other locations.
And ISIL has been carrying out all sorts of, has been committing all sorts of atrocities, much worse than Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, according to all reports, which is based in Yemen. So now both control territories. Reports are that Al-Qaeda is losing recruits to ISIL. Is this a dangerous oversight, creating what could be another big international problem?
Absolutely. The government has been abroad in Riyadh, and now the president is back in Aden. But unfortunately, there's no real actual presence for the government on the ground, leaving a vacuum for militias to take over. The military of Yemen that was not really national is definitely very, very weak. And this war has left any kind of formal institution of defending Yemen very weak and vulnerable, which means that this is a really good time to start rebuilding Yemen, to kind of weaken out ISIS that has taken a lot of control. Just today, Prince Mohammed bin Salman announced a coalition of 35 countries of Islamic coalition that will fight terrorism in the Middle East. And clearly we have in Yemen Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula and ISIS. And I think he talked about all forms of terrorism, which would probably include the Houthi militia if they do not accept peace terms and a settlement.
Right. It is terrible to see what has happened in Yemen in such a short period of time. Sama Al-Hamdani, always good to have you with us. Thank you. The unofficial coalition